Hello, it's afternoon on day one, Smart Manufacturing Week 2026. I'm joined on the Manufacturer Media Studio by David Roberts from Evtec. Welcome.
Hey, good to be here.
How's the show going so far?
It's going really well, thank you.
Super. You're giving a fireside talk, fireside chat in a little while. Can you give us a little bit of a taster, a little bit of a flavour of what you're going to be discussing today?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be talking today about the impact of technology on the workforce. And obviously, the world we live in is certainly challenged, is it not, in so many aspects?
Certainly is, yeah.
And one of the big fears is the scale of the technology wave that we're hitting. It's almost unprecedented. For example, 30, 40 years ago, we all sort of cheered when we saw an iPod or we saw the first Mac. But technology today is all embracing. And the joy of technology 30 years ago, there's some fear and concern, particularly in workforces, around the speed of AI and how it will impact their jobs. So we're going to be talking about that. What does leadership do and how does it deal with those kind of issues? How does it keep the workforce engaged? How does it potentially reskill those workers? And how do we try and take the fear of that AI and the stories that exist on AI out of the workplace? Underneath all that, we're trying to get our businesses to be competitive for ourselves, for our customers, for the country. So key to this is the adoption of AI in a controlled and channeled manner.
Yeah. Obviously, manufacturing has been through periods of disruption before, but in terms of challenges to the workforce, what sets this particular period of change apart? And I think perhaps you might have alluded to it there. Is it pace? Is it speed of change?
It's a combination of so many events. Now, typically, if I go back 40 years in automotive, we have had crises, but they've been single event crises. And you can kind of get your arms around a single event crisis. We've had a whole host of crises. There's almost too many to count.
Indeed.
But underneath all of those crises is this technology advancement. And the stories and the fears around, is AI going to take all our jobs, basically?
Yeah.
So how do you address that as a company? How do you address that as a leadership? Do you avoid it? Do you embrace it? How are you going to deal with that? And it's a real key question for a lot of the UK companies.
Yeah, and I guess when we're talking about technology adoption and workforce readiness, they don't always obviously go along parallel lines. And so, what are the biggest mistakes that manufacturing leaders are making when you see technology adoption outpacing that workforce readiness?
So in my opinion, you've got to communicate really, really well with your workforce. Even before you've done the strategic plan, don't worry too much about the strategic plan. Get out there, get using AI, get everybody to use it, work out who's enthused about it, make them the champions of it, and then let that spread through the organisation. I insist on every one of my leadership team, you've got to get comfortable. You choose it, but you've got to get comfortable with AI. Do not fear it, embrace it.
Yeah.
And you'll learn from that.
Yeah.
And then let's get everybody in the workforce, let's get them trained on it, let's get them understanding its limits, let's think about the conformity of that, but we can worry about that just getting people normalised using AI.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess in a similar question really, but how do you strike that balance between achieving that operational efficiency with technology adoption while still maintaining that workforce engagement and that workforce morale?
I think you combine them. Now, as soon as you show an efficiency gain in your business going to the P&L, you lose the workforce. You do automatically. So the trick here is don't let that happen. You will get savings, reinvest them in the business. Reinvest them in skills, reinvest them in additional processes, additional markets. Do not make the mistake of turning this into a computer project. It's an enterprise project. And I'm just worried a lot of guys think of it as a computer IT issue project, when actually it's the fundamental DNA of your business you're talking about.
Yes, indeed. And obviously through, we're going through a period of disruption, period of challenges within manufacturing. So what practical steps can manufacturers take to build that trust in technology and to allay those fears of uncertainty and fear around change?
So going back 40 years in lean, we always talk, do we not, about going to the action point, going to Gemba, going to where the problem is.
Yeah.
So again, I'd encourage every leader to walk the floor, walk the people, talk to them. Even if you haven't got the complete answer, they'll appreciate the honesty and say, hey, we're working on it. Talk on a regular basis, be on the floor a lot of the time, communicate. That is the key to keeping the workforce with you.
And we also talk a lot about upskilling, bringing the capabilities of the workforce in line with technology. But when that technology landscape is constantly evolving and constantly changing, how can you introduce an effective upskilling program to keep pace with that?
So you've really got to think deep about that upskilling program. You've got to think about where your weaknesses are really in the systems, and then you've got to reinvest the savings you get out of automation and out of AI into upskilling those people into the skills you need. I am amazed. We have a large disability in our payroll. 43% in one of our companies are people with a disability. Fantastically skilled people, by the way. All they need is some training.
Yeah.
But give me enthusiasm and a keenness to learn, and we'll adopt the skills and get you skilled. But you've got to give me those two things first.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're in a constantly evolving landscape. We're going to have a lot of geopolitical uncertainty. There's conflict around the world, and we talk about building. In times of uncertainty and challenge, building resilience into things like supply chain, for example. But how can we build in that same resilience around our own workforces?
So resilience is a strange word, isn't it? Because if you ask people to define resilience, it's a real tough thing to define. So I would argue resilience is about handling crises as normal. We're in a world now that's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. And so you want your leadership, your management structures to have an adaptability and agility to pivot and twist. And you've got to cascade that down all the organisation. So when a crisis arrives, a JLR cyber attack, there's no need to freak out at that point and go, oh my God. What you've got to do is go, okay, how do we make this into an opportunity? So you've got to have a slightly different mindset around how you handle a crisis. The Brits, whatever they are, they're really good at handling crises.
Yeah.
We've learned over the years. We're really good at it.
Yeah. So looking at around the next 3 to 5 years, if you were giving advice to any other manufacturing leaders out there about, battling this constant change, battling this constant uncertainty, what would be your top tips around, sustaining that workforce morale, that workforce engagement, that workforce efficiency moving forward over the next few years?
Invest in the right leaders. If you invest in machinery, that depreciates. Leaders become better leaders. Invest in your leadership. Put a lot of effort into those leadership. Make sure they're the people you want to reflect your organisation's values, and that'll cascade all the way through the organisation.
And just thinking, more broadly around the show, around the week. Obviously, this is not your guys' first time to Smart Manufacturing Week, but what are you hoping to get out of the next couple of days, and what sort of keeps you coming back to Smart Manufacturing Week every year?
It's a constant learning exercise. Technology advances at such a rapid rate, it's challenging to keep up. These kind of shows let everybody just come together for a couple of days, all share what they're doing, and we just re-benchmark and re-go again in terms of where we are on the scale of adoption of technology. So it's a great event, and if you're passionate about UK manufacturing, which we are, all of us are, and we know it employs so many good talented people, these shows are vital to make sure we're benchmarked at the highest level in the world on technology.
Fantastic. David, thanks very much for joining us on the studio, and thanks for talking to us.
Great, thank you very much.